Hello guys, how is everyone doing tonight? Just getting everything finished and set up. I'm running a little bit behind today. A bit like the British Rail, really. There we go. Right. So we've got Bam Bam Gaming, Andy, Huss, Cows Go Moo. How are you guys all doing? And someone else whose name is written in a language I can't read. So hello to whoever you are, mystery man or woman. Cows, you haven't missed the start. We've literally just got started. I've only been online for about a minute at most. JKD Gamer, how are you? All right. Just finished my dinner. Had well, I say dinner, a snack. Had some chips and cheese tonight. Something nice and easy, quick as well. As I say, running a bit behind. I wasn't sure I'd be able to actually start on roughly on time. I thought I might have to push the stream back by about half an hour or so, but we're ready to get going. We're going to look at the Northern Trans-Pennine pack again today. Been wanting to run this one again for a little while. I've actually been spending a lot of time, if I skip through the various different tabs, I've been spending a lot of time running on the Class 166. So you can see my distance travelled is now up to 5.74 miles. I've been working my way towards getting that that mile muncher trophy. I'm just over halfway. You need 1,660 miles. When I got to the 600 mile part, I did a bit of mental maths to figure out how much more it would take, because each run is around about 36 miles, and it would have taken from the the 660 odd miles or so that I'd done. It would have taken me another 1,000 miles to hit the milestone. Obviously, I'm a couple of hundred miles on since then, but from 1,000 miles to go, it worked out as 28 more runs and about 14 hours of runtime, which is insane amount of time to run a single locomotive just for one bronze trophy. But I am determined to make sure that I do end up platinuming this game, so we will have to continue working away on that. I'll mainly do it in my spare time, but hopefully by this point next week I might even be in a position to actually unlock that trophy. It depends how much time I get this week to run on the 166. So you never know. Next week we could be doing a trophy run on that train there. I'll just skip back through. There we go. Let's have a look at the services for the Northern Trans-Pennine. What shall we run today? What do you want to see? The 47, the 45, or the 101? Let me know in the comments, and that's what we'll run today. Pro Gamer's popped in the chat as well. How you doing? Cal says, good to hear British Rail is not on time. I've tried to run track 14 run on GWR scenario and never on time. Some of them are really, really tricky. I mean, there's one particular route that I'm running over and over again on the Class 166 because it's a run with no stops. So it's 36 miles, you start at Reading and you just go to Paddington, and it's a straight through run. And I cannot for the life of me get there on arrival time. I end up just a few seconds late every single time. Unless you speed through a section of track, there's no way to actually do that one on time. You come in like a minute behind your arrival time, which is a bit frustrating. But it is what it is, unfortunately. We can't really change that. So, it's kind of typical of British Rail, I suppose. Well, it's not even British Rail anymore. British Rail doesn't exist anymore. It was all scrapped and privatised years and years and years ago. But the spirit remains. This is British Rail. This is stuff from the 80s, so this is British Rail. And get those votes in. What do you want to see? 101, the 45, or the 47? Which one of those do you want us to run services on tonight? I've got one vote for the 45 and one for the 101 so far. Nobody likes the 47, it would seem. Anybody else want to have a go? have a choice of what we're going to run? Because if not, we'll go with the 45, because it's the one out of the three that I probably want to run. And with a vote from cows, that makes it 2-1 against the 101, with nobody voting for the 47. Oh, there's another vote for the 101. I'll give you another 30 seconds. Oh, there's a 45. Another 45. So we're looking like the 45 at the moment. And another 145. I think it's going to be clear. It's going to be the 45, because that's my personal preference as well. So we will go with the Class 45. There it is. Let's see. We haven't done any winter running on this pack before, so let's do some winter running for this run. And let's see. We want a nice long run. Oh, we've got an express run, as opposed to one with lots and lots of stops. Only stopping at Huddersfield. That's the same run, but with all stops, or all principal stations. Let's go from Leeds to Manchester Victoria, calling it all principals. Be interesting to see what this looks like in snow. I haven't seen this pack in snow before. Welcome, Tommy. How are you doing? And Rob as well. Welcome. Andy says he's picked up City Skylines, played about an hour of it and is really enjoying it. I'm glad you're having fun with that game. It is a fun game. It's a great way to pass a lot of time very quickly without realising it as well. You could just kind of get into the zone and just start building and building and building, or letting your city run, and before you know it, hours have gone by. It's a little bit like farming sim in that respect, is that you can really eat your time away without realising. Am I unlocking the right doors? It looks as though we are. Yes, we are. We're on the right platform. Okay. Let's go back in. I want to... That's the horn. There we go. Oh. Are we all set up? Master key is off. We need to turn the master key on. There we go. Put the reverser into forward. Wait until 13, 22 and 30 seconds. So we've got a little bit of time, which is good, because I need to find the light switches in here. Oh, I've got a second one. How nice. What controls he hovering at? Vacuum I thought it was a vacuum cleaner for a second then. Vacuum chamber. Here we go. Lights. We want tail lights on. We want headlight switches on. Cab lights. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Nose lights. Cab heaters. It's cold, so let's get the cab heaters on. Let's see. Brakes. Let's put them into full service, make sure they get charged. Oh, we're off. Don't want to put too much into the straight brakes off. Yeah, there we go, we're moving. Let's get a little bit more throttle. Don't want to overwork the engine, keep it in the green with the revs there. That can get us a bit of a slow getaway otherwise, or even not move at all. Tommy says he would love a Virgin route. TSW needs some UK routes. Well, there's actually more UK routes than other packs at the moment, just. We've got the GWR pack, we've got the West Somerset Rail pack, which technically isn't a UK route as such, it's a heritage line, but kind of counts, it's British. And then we've also got the Northern Trans-Pennine. Actually, I suppose we're tied with Germany, because Germany has the S-Bahn, and we also have the Rursig Nord pack and the more recent main Spessart Bahn as well. So there's 3 German packs, 3 British packs. I'd imagine, at a guess, that the next one probably might be American, because we've got the CSX pack that comes with the game, and then obviously there's the Long Island Railroad. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if the next pack is American, to kind of even that out as 3 of each. Beyond that, though, who knows? And yeah, it would be nice to see perhaps a couple more modern trains, maybe get one of the Virgin Voyagers or one of the Pendolinos. That'd be quite nice. BK's popped in. I'll promise not to tell your boss you're watching at work. Unless he's watching at work, in which case he already knows. Hi, boss of BK. DQ has popped in the chat. How are you doing, DQ? And Omar as well. And Mr. Water. Good to see you all. Regulars of the streams. So even though we've got the snow, we've got lovely sunshine, haven't we? This is the benefit of choosing clear weather rather than a blizzard or fog or something like that. Just get a bit more speed up. Get up to 20. Let's go to an external view so we can see just how glorious this all looks. Oh, I love seeing those old classic intercity livery coaches. Ah, they are gorgeous. These are the coaches I grew up with. I don't really remember the 45 that much, but I do remember the 47s. I would love to get a 37. Class 37 is probably my favourite, older diesel loco. And it does have a very similar kind of appearance to the 45. It's just a bit of a longer nose. The 45 is more of like a squashed up nosed version of the 37. But that's probably my favourite old school diesel. Got a big steep gradient, so we're going to push the power up a little bit more. Ah, this looks so nice. Throttle down a bit. Still watching that gradient. You can see all the lines branching off in their various different directions. I think we've actually got one coming up to a siding just here as well. Yep, there we go. An old line that's been disused and torn up. Put some buffers on the end of it. That's something you see a lot of these days as well. I mean, you still see, I guess, a little Class 101 on the other line. You still see a lot of disused tracks, from days gone by when the UK rail network used to be this monstrous, sprawling monstrosity. Just tracks everywhere. And you still see a lot of those lines that are just kind of, most of them have been torn up, but there's still bits of old line that are just lying there. Either as just sleepers that have been torn up and just piled to the side of the track, or there's just lines that go nowhere and are completely overgrown and then just suddenly stop. No buffers, nothing, just the tracks just suddenly stop. It's old routes and old lines that have been torn up. Something you see a lot of in the UK. Camera height a little bit so we don't keep getting clobbered by bridges. And we get clobbered by another bridge because that one was even lower. There we go. We should be okay here for a bit. Cow says steam locos would be good. Yes, I would love to see some classic British steam trains. I don't know if it'll happen. I like to think it would happen. And I think if they're going to do it, I think they may possibly introduce a steam engine as an extra for the West Somerset Rail, because they do have steam locos on that heritage line. So that might be kind of a test as a single release of just a train, like they did with the Class 33. Just release it as an expansion for that pack. I'd prefer to see an actual Steam pack with its own route and everything, but you know, who knows. Not yet dead popped in. Missed the beginning. Are we in a scenario or a service? We're running a service today. We're going to be running some services. We're trying out different weather times just to see what the game looks like on this pack with you know, different kind of settings. So you can see here we're running with clear winter weather at the moment. So we've got plenty of snow, but also glorious sunshine as well. So it's not all grey and overcast and miserable. And it does look absolutely beautiful, doesn't it? Especially with the light shining on the side of these coaches. I have very fond memories of these classic coaches here. We need to slow down a bit. There we go. We'll just put the throttle back up to about 20, just to counteract that gradient, so we don't keep bleeding speed. Nicole's popped in the chat. How you doing, Nicole? And Dan has popped in as well. Dan, I want to say a big thank you to you. Obviously on Sunday, Dan and a couple of others popped in a couple of donations to buy me a new DualShock because mine is dying a death. That's been ordered and should arrive in a couple of days. So Dan, massive thank you. Really appreciate that. I've gone for the blue one because you know, why not? It's kind of my unofficial channel colour, I suppose. Getting a little bit of a chance to increase our speed again. We'll put our throttle up to just over 50. We'll make a gradual increase. How are we doing time-wise? We've got 8 minutes to do 4.7 miles. Yeah, we could do with maybe going a little bit faster. Let's get the throttle up to 70. Get up to 60 as quick as we can. Alpha Rod's in the chat. How you doing, Alpha Rod? Nicole says she's completed Subnautica with help from our vids. So really glad that I've been able to help out. You know, I had a lot of fun playing that game, and I'm eagerly awaiting the release of the DLC at some point later in the year. Mr. Otter would like to see the London Victoria to Brighton main line brought in. I'd like to see a few other routes brought in before they go back to London again. We've already got, you know, the Reading to Paddington service. You know, it'd be nice to maybe see a different region, perhaps, maybe something in the Midlands. You know, maybe going up to Scotland, perhaps. Do a mainline service going up to Edinburgh. That could be interesting. This is a very long tunnel. I remember this now, this tunnel being insanely long. I'm just going to be sat here in the dark for a bit. Stefan is in. How you doing, Stefan? Are you feeling better? You were quite sickly last time we spoke. And Farmer Pierce. How you doing, Farmer Pierce? Good to see you. Right, let's actually take our throttle off completely because we're on a slight downhill gradient now. Just going to put initial application to bleed a little bit of speed off. There we go. Still haven't found the end of the tunnel, though. This could be closing in. It can be a bit deceptive sometimes, this tunnel. You think you're getting to the end and then the mouth just shoots back into the distance again. But I think we are approaching the end of the tunnel now. Yes, we are definitely approaching the end. I suppose I could have put my headlights onto a bit brighter while we're in here. Probably should have done, really, but we'll do that next time. Next time we go through that tunnel. Oh, and that gradient picked up a bit. Let's go back to another initial application. 0.7. Going to very gradually bleed a little bit of speed. There we go. Then we'll naturally start to pick that speed back up again. Already look back up to 58. Whatever I do, Jim, head towards the light. He just wanted to give up the fight. Am I on time? At the moment, yes, we've got 4 minutes to do 1.5 miles. So yes, we're on time at the moment. Starting to go a little bit too fast again. Start to bleed that speed again. So we go through one of our sort of regional stations here. Only stopping at the principal stations on this route. So I'm not sure how many stops we're going to be making. But it's certainly more than the express line, which only stops at Huddersfield before going on to complete the journey. I'm just going to keep my initial application on here so that we can slow down to 50, because we do have a 50 zone coming up. That gradient's picking up a little bit more as well, 0.8% now. Now we'll release the brakes. Actually, no, we'll keep the brakes on because we are starting to approach the station as well. I'm not sure. It's been a little while since I've driven this train, so can't remember that. Yeah, I've got my braking distances sorted for that one, but for this one, it's been a while. So let's go with another initial application. Just bleed that speed down a bit more. We need to speed it down a lot more. Go to a 40%. Is that enough? Yeah, that's enough. Let's ease it down. We're a little bit short. Let's just pull forward a touch more. Still got time. Look, we're still 2 minutes, well, a minute and a half ahead of our arrival time. Almost there. Just creeping forward ever so slightly. We're actually picking up a little bit of speed, as you can see. Only a tiny little bit, but it's because we're on a slight downhill gradient. There we go. Go an initial application just here. That's pretty much spot on. Excellent stuff. Let's get those doors open. Got a few per train, but nobody actually on the platforms. Which is a bit of a shame. We've seen in the past quite a lot of foot traffic on this route on the platforms, but nobody wants to get off here. Nobody wants to go to Dewsbury, apparently. Oh, right, wait, here they come. Maybe we're just a little bit early. We've got 2 people. 2 people thinking about getting on the train. Well, that's it. It's time to go. Get our camera back to a good position. There we go. Brakes on initial. Leaving in 6 seconds. There we go. Engine firing up, and we are off. Off to Huddersfield. And we have 12 minutes to do 7 miles. Should be okay. Eurotunnel would be a nice pack, says Nicole. I don't think so. At least not the tunnel part of the Eurotunnel. Just 26 miles of just driving in an underground tunnel wouldn't be all that exciting, would it? Of course, the Eurotunnel does go on the Eurostar route. You know, it does go all the way on to Paris, so that would be quite nice. But you know, they wouldn't put the full route in. Their routes typically only go for about 30 miles, and I think it's more than 30 miles from the tunnel to Paris. I'm almost certain of that. I have no idea what the actual distance is, but I'm guessing it's a lot more than just 30 miles, so it's unlikely we'll see that route. Ruben asks, which would I advise, this or Railway Empire? They're very, very different games. And the only common denominator is that they have trains. That's it. One is more akin to SimCity or City Skylines than it is to driving trains. You know, you build your routes, you plan your routes, you get goods going into the cities to build their population up, so you can make more money that way. It's a management kind of game, but you have no real involvement in the trains themselves. You know, you're just laying everything for them and choosing how they're routed, but you don't get to drive the trains. It depends what sort of experience you want. If you want a driving experience, then this. If you want a building experience, then I would say go with Railway Empire. But what I will say, for those of you that aren't aware, here in the UK, until the 4th of April, Railway Empire is currently £13, down from 48 on the PlayStation Store, just for the next couple of days, and then it goes back up in price to £48 again. So if you are considering getting Railway Empire now, and you're in the UK, now would probably be a very good time to go ahead and get that. I don't know if that's the same deal that's available in Europe. It probably won't be available in America, because the promotions tend to vary from region to region, but here in the UK it's definitely a good deal, and it's certainly well worth 13 quid. You know, it's an absolute bargain at that price. There's so much content in that game for that kind of price. It's insane. Tommy wants a Virgin Pendolino. Yes, as I said, it would be really nice to get the Virgin train sets. So the Voyager and the Pendolino, they'd be a nice addition. Chat has run on a little bit without me. I've got to scroll down and say hello to a few people. Marcel has popped in the chat. How you doing, Marcel? Train Sim World TS, nice to see you. Japan's train service would be good with the bullet train. Yes, the Shinkansen. I think that's how you pronounce it. That would be a nice train. Insanely fast. Those things go at 200 miles an hour. Nicole says, got the whole lot of Railway Empire but not getting on with it. Don't know what I'm doing wrong. What is it that you're struggling to do? Is it you're struggling to get people into the cities, or to get the cities to grow? What is it that you're having trouble with? I'll see if I can give you some pointers. Cal says, what do the coins we get in the upper right corner count towards? Absolutely nothing. They are there just kind of an experience total, just to show they count towards your experience level. They're not actually coins as such, they're just points towards your experience level. So when you complete challenges and routes and stuff, you'll see your level goes up, and it's just kind of it doesn't unlock anything, it's just kind of like a badge of honour to say I'm at level whatever. I've done so many miles in such a train, and You know, they don't unlock trophies as far as I know. You mean there are certain trophies that have running requirements, like the Mile Muncher needs 1,660 miles in a 166 to unlock, or the Class 43 needs 430 miles, the Class 66 needs 660, but they don't. There's no trophy for hitting certain levels, so you know it's kind of meaningless in some respects. They don't do anything. They're just there. Nicole says, just getting cities to grow and get products flowing right. Okay, well, to get your cities to grow, you need to have a minimum fulfillment level of 61%. If it's 60%, nothing happens. When it hits 61%, your city stands and your population will go up. As your population goes up, it opens up more slots for you to... Oh, another tunnel. This one's a short one. We have to go to the side to avoid being clobbered in the face by a brick wall. There we go. As you reach more levels, then you unlock. So as your population goes up, you reach certain levels in your city, where you then unlock the ability to put in extra buildings. So when your population hits 20,000, your city goes to 2, and then that one business that's in the city can then be upgraded to a second level. When you hit 40,000 people, you get to put in a second business. When you get to 60,000, you get to put in a building like an attraction or a museum or a university, which will have benefits to either getting more people passenger-wise to travel to the city with an attraction. A museum increases the fulfillment demand of your city by 10%, which is always very, very good when you're trying to grow a city. Museums or the third business slot unlock. And then I think there's another level at 120, which gets you to allow you to fully upgrade all your businesses to their max level. But yeah, you need to make sure that you're getting all the goods in. So check your production details in the city screen, and you can see what goods that are in demand and what your current stock of those is. And then you can see if you've got naught for ones that are highlighted, that's a good that they want and they don't have anything of. So supplying those goods into that city will fulfill that demand and promote growth in the city. And as I say, once you get your fulfillment to tick to 61% or higher, the population starts to go up. And as your population increases, they also unlock more commodities that they want for the city as well. Zoom out a bit. Oh, isn't that pretty? Oh! My internet quality is sufficiently not good enough. Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Alright, we'll keep plodding on. If it plays up, let me know and we'll have to restart the stream, but hopefully it'll clear itself up. I'm using my phone like I usually do, and I've not had that pop up on my phone before. I've had it pop up on my standard internet connection, but... I mean, it still looks like it's running at the moment, but I don't know. Obviously, I'm watching a delay, so... Just easing my way in distance-wise. I've got 2 minutes to do the next mile. Looks like it's still running, but looks like it might be perhaps a little bit fuzzy. What's the image quality looking like for you guys? Is it watchable? Bit fuzzy. Yeah, okay, well, we'll try it a little bit longer. We might finish this particular route. And then we might look at restarting the stream. Let's try and get in where we can, where the image naturally sharpens up and see what it looks like quality-wise. Going in way too hot. I think I broke my engine. Yeah, it's trying to fire up, but it won't for some reason. Getting the brakes charged. I'm wondering if I've maybe caused a problem with the automatic emergency brake. Engine seems to have stalled. Let's put the reverser into engine only. Turn it off. Restart the reverser. Yeah, we've broken the engine somehow. I'm not quite sure what we've done here, but we do look to have broken it. Dear oh dear. Okay, let's turn the reverser off. Gotta find an engine button now to try and restart the engine, I think. Somewhere I've done something horribly wrong to this train, and I don't know what it is. Came in way too hot, and I think I might have broken something. Yeah, the engine doesn't want to close, does it? Emergency plunger. Release. We're rolling backwards at the moment. I've got nothing. This engine has stalled completely. And I don't know how to restart this engine. Oh, this is not good. Let's see. Internal cameras, overhead panel. That's nothing. Left desk. I can't see where the engine startup is. Let's try turning the master key off. I'm aware we're rolling. My pad is playing up again. Ah, there we go. Throttle off. Master key on. Put the brakes on. Put the reverser into forward. Engine start. Ah, see, it's obscured by the throttle lever, which doesn't help. Maybe I need to be in off for this. Oh, it's so fiddly, I can't... Again, nothing. No engine movement. We've completely broken this train. I've got absolutely no movement. Got no revs, no nothing. I don't know what we've done or how to fix it. And we're just rolling down the hill. Did I remember to put diesel in it? And someone says, don't jump off the train. Yeah, that's now becoming a thing. I should never have put that up there in the video. Oh, this is bad. We're just rolling down the hill. I can't see where we're going wrong with this. Maybe I need to hold the engine start for ages. I want to go outside for a second. See if I can hear any noise. Yeah. Sounds like the engine's dead. Like the power's on, but nothing's happening. Can't get into the engine room. One last try. Alright, has that done anything? Throttle's trying, but we're getting no revs. Nothing's going through to the wheels. I really don't know what I've done wrong. Plus, this is insanely frustrating, and we're just sitting here doing nothing. We are now 7 minutes behind schedule. I think we might possibly have to restart this. I don't know what I've done wrong. I know I came in way too hot and I slammed the brakes on, but I don't think I tripped the emergency. There's not a starter switch outside. Like I said, it's been so long since I've run this service. I can't get in to the actual engine itself, so it's not like some of the other locos where we've actually got access to the corridor down here with the motors and stuff. I really don't know what I've done wrong, and I don't know how to fix it. That's the worst thing as well. So I've tried the engine start button, tried doing what I would do with other trains, and it just doesn't seem to want to work with this one. So I've got one last thing to try. Let's put it in engine only and then try restarting. Yeah, it's completely ground to a complete stop. Nothing's working. So, we're just going to have to restart the service, unfortunately. That's so frustrating. I've no idea what happened or why I couldn't fix it. So while we're waiting for this to reload, let's take a quick look at some of the comments. I'm sure there's a load of people saying I'm a numpty. Have I tried the new maps? I have, yes. I'm a big fan of both of them. Danny says, this happens at Huddersfield all the time. We have to wait 2 hours for a replacement service. Cal says, is this a realistic British rail experience? It probably is, actually. It probably isn't far off. See, the engine's already running here, which is what kind of lulls you into that false sense of security. Get the cab heaters on. Not sure which of those sides I'm supposed to be turning on. I'll go with both, just to be on the safe side. Engine room lights. Doesn't do anything. Cab lights are on. Instrument lights, let's get those on. And hopefully we're not going to crash the system like we did last time. Let's sort our brakes out. There we go, off in 10 seconds, so let's lock the doors up. DQ says, I know they're just remakes, but they did a good job. I love New Woodshire. They're actually not remakes, they are completely reimagined. There's a few similarities on the maps, but both of them have undergone substantial changes and share very little actually with the original maps. There's only certain key features that have carried across on both of those maps. There's some significant substantial changes on both of them. Elmer's made it into the chat. Did I miss much? You missed me somehow breaking a train. I don't know how I did it, and then I didn't know how to fix it. So that's why we've restarted. I was looking for a dead man switch. There's no dead man switch on these trains now. Call Network Rail, they should fix it. I don't think so. Network Rail aren't that good. Scott's popped in. How you doing, Scott? Yes, I Jim bobbed the train. I don't know. Well, no. Jim bobbing the train doesn't work because a Jim bob is when you collide with something, bump into something. We bumped into nothing. We just broke. We just stopped working. So that new expression does not apply in this circumstance. Now, if I'd forgotten to hit the brakes and we ploughed into the buffers at Huddersfield and derailed the train, that would be Jim bobbing. But the train just shutting down for no reason, no, doesn't apply. How you doing, Cat Noir? Good to see you. Go back to the external view again. Front camera. There we go. See how long a train we're running actually. That's quite a big train. That is quite a big train. Get some more throttle on. Oh god, cheap lighters. There we go. Dan says, I like the heat spots on the roof of the engine. Yeah, you do get a little bit of some of that extra detail in this, which is always nice to see. I broke the lighter. No, it's one of those cheap ones they give out after, you know, very little use at all. I didn't Jim Bob the lighter. I told you I didn't. Jim Bobbing is when you collide into something, when you bump into something, not when something just breaks in your fingers. So I refute that. I refute that comment. Scott says, I thought trains were no smoking on board. I don't know. I don't think that applied in the 80s. I'm not sure when that rule was introduced, you know, in trains. Up until the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was. I'm trying to remember when the smoking ban came into effect in the UK. You know, you could smoke in pubs. Public transport was a bit different, but I don't know when it became illegal to smoke on board trains. So technically I could not be breaking the law at all. I could be absolutely fine. Bit of research is necessary, I suppose. Right, we've got a bit of speed to get back up to if we want to get back to Dewsbury on time. Steep gradients and a bit of speed to get up to. Go max throttle. Try and catch up. Speaking of TSW, I think, I'm not 100% certain, but I think they're currently on sale here in the UK as well. Let me open up the app on my phone and go to the store while we're running. Take a look. I think the TSW stuff is on sale. Again, I can only check the UK store, I can't check other stores. Let's see what comes up. So yeah, Train Sim World, the base game, is currently 50% off. It's down to $19.99. The deluxe edition is $23.99. Long Island Railroad is down to $17.99. It is 28% off, as is the Northern Trans-Pennine route, same price. West Somerset Rail is down to $11.99, 40% off. The BR Class 33 is not, that's still full price, that's still $11.49. Rursig Nord is reduced down to $14.99, that's 40% off. And obviously no discount on the brand new DLC, the main Spessart Barn, which only came out a few weeks ago. So it's a fair bit of content that's currently discounted here in the UK for Train Sim World. So again, if you're on the fence about buying this game and you've been waiting for a sale, now's your window. The game and some of the DLCs are all reduced. Dan says he's psychic. Actually, he meant psychotic. Yes, I would say sociopathic possibly as well. Scott says 1990 the ban came in for smoking on trains. So there you go. I am absolutely perfectly within my legal rights to smoke while I am driving this train, because this is set in the 80s. So yeah. All you who accuse me of indulging in criminal behaviour there. Oh, it's the long train. The long tunnel, sorry. Let's try and get our lights on a bit brighter. Can we go brighter? No, we can't. We can't go any brighter than this. The lights are either on or off, and it makes no real difference when we're in here, does it? Cal says, I wish US prices were those prices. West Rail is $24.99 normal price, and the Class Loco is almost the same price, but requires the West Rail. Yeah, but dollars to pounds is different. You've also got to take into effect, it's a different economy, it's a different conversion rate. So the exchange rate between pounds and dollars, it works out slightly cheaper in America, than over here, if you were to do a straight currency conversion. I'll give you an example. The PlayStation launched at $399. The PlayStation 4 launched at $399 in America, $349 over here. Sounds like it's 50 cheaper, but you do a conversion rate, and the two at the time, which was 1.6, I think it worked out about £280 to buy a PlayStation 4 in America, using dollars, and obviously 350 in this country. It was significantly different in price, that we were paying more. It's a different economy, so you can't always just do a straight price conversion. But generally, if you were to do a currency conversion, it would be more expensive to buy it here than it would to buy over there. So stop your whinging. You're actually getting the better deal. Alright, we're out of the tunnel. And we're onto a downhill stretch. So we'll just apply the brakes. Oh, brakes are noisy, aren't they? A little hiss of the air brakes kicking in there. I'm going to bleed a bit more speed off than necessary, just so that we can let it roll back up to speed again, just like last time. Katie's popped in the chat. How you doing, Katie? Dan says this is the never-ending tunnel that does end, which is a complete contradiction and makes it not a never-ending tunnel. But I see what he did there. No sugarcoating from Jim Bob. Brace yourself. When will they add in more Great Western trains? I doubt they will, to be honest. I think they'll look at a different pack, and look to add in a variety of different services rather than just expanding on one service pack. I mean, they kind of did that with West Somerset Rail, but that's a little bit different. That's a heritage pack, heritage line, so it got slightly different treatment. But in terms of normal running packs, I'd be amazed if they started adding in another 6 trains on the Great Western pack. What I'd like to see would be route expansions in terms of extension of the route itself. So, for for example, we get all these services running out of Paddington, and they go to, say, Oxford or Hereford or anywhere past Reading, like Banbury, or all these other places. But the train only ever goes as far as Reading, because that's the end of the 36 mile stretch. And then the service just stops and then carries on in the distance without you on it. I would like to see an extension of a route where it added an extra 30-40 miles onto an existing route, so you could do really long runs. Because the HST is great fun to ride. You know, I do really love the Class 43, but you start it and you just sit there and you wait, and then you reach your destination, and that's it. There's no stops, there's no variety in the route of any kind. There's no real distance in some respects to the route. You just sit there, you start the engine, let it go, and you do nothing until you arrive at the station. So I would like to see a bit more variety in terms of the length of the routes. 36 miles is great, but I'd like to see twice that on a run. I'd like to see 60, 70, maybe even 100-mile routes, so you could do those really long runs. Whether we'll see that or not, I don't know. I can only hope. Stop brakes. There we go. They have a lot of TSW stuff on sale in the US in February, so we could have had West Somerset for $12. Yeah, you should have done then if it was only $12. That's cheap. Yeah, that's the Trans-Pennine's normally $30. That's about 25 quid. You know, in terms of the UK to US pricing market. You know, but if you were to take £25 and put it through a currency conversion into dollars, it would actually be a little bit more than $30. So, like I said, you get variances in currency, and you can never do a straight currency to currency conversion between the two markets, but things do generally work out a little bit cheaper to buy from the States than they do to buy here in the UK, especially when it comes to electronics. Craig says he's been watching Oakfield on FS19. How's it looking? Does it look as good as it did on FS17? Does it look better? Taking the difference in lighting engines and stuff out, you know, there's the actual map itself, there's the ground textures and the quality of the buildings and stuff. Do they look better? Or do they look about the same? Or do they look a bit worse? I'm curious, because I'm toying with the idea of maybe moving from Marwell to Oakfield, depending on when Oakfield comes out. If it's still a long way off, then it might not happen. We might go somewhere else instead. Elmer says, for a train game, I thought it was a bit too expensive, but seeing the technical side and extensive it gets, I kind of understand the price. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of effort and work involved to create accurate representations of the locos and scaled accurate representations of the routes as well, but I do think the DLCs are a little bit pricey. I would like to see them come down in price as a general rule. I do think they are a little bit too expensive. I wouldn't want to pay, ideally, I wouldn't want to pay anything more than £20 for a DLC. And we're paying £25 for each of these route packs, not counting the West Somerset pack, you know, which was 20, which was a little bit smaller and therefore a little bit cheaper. I do think £25 per pack is a bit expensive. I would prefer to see them priced between 15 and 20. Ellis says, probably the wrong place to ask this as I'm playing TSW, but do I think FS19 consoles will get Follow Me? I don't know. I suppose... I don't know if it counts as an existing mod. So, I mean, if it might be allowed to be entered into the mod contest, and if it wins, then maybe Giants will do what they did with Seasons and code the base game to allow it to be added in. I think that's about the only way it's going to happen, though. Now we can get our speed back up again. Now that we've cleared that little switch over. When it comes to scripting mods, there are a couple of things you have to take into consideration, and this is why Giants might be deliberately declining things, dismissively out of hand. There are two things you have to take into consideration. One is something that that Sony and Microsoft are more cautious, Sony especially so, about allowing external scripts. Microsoft are a little bit more relaxed about it, and we're starting to see some general relaxing about that from Microsoft, not just for Farming Sim, but for scripting in general in terms of mods. But we've also got to understand is that a lot of these heavily scripted mods, they interact and replace parts of the code of the game on PC, and so the only way for that to happen would be for Giants to put a patch out that rewrites the code of the game for that to work. On a PC, when you install a mod like that, it just overwrites part of the code. You can't do that on console. You can't just do an overwrite of code like that. It has to be done through an official patch. So if Follow Me and GPS and Courseplay were all suddenly allowed to come onto console, each one of those would require a substantial base game coding patch, just like we had to have for Seasons. And those things take time to do, and I don't think Giants particularly want to do that every time a scripting mod comes along, because while there are certain ones that I'm sure that everybody agree would be the best ones to have, there's a whole ton of scripting mods, and every time one of those, if they can't say yes for this mod and no for that mod, they have to have a kind of a default policy. So if it requires something that they could incorporate to the game if they were to make substantial changes to the code to allow it to be put in there, if they do it for one, they've got to do it for all, except in exceptional circumstances, like they did with Seasons because it won the mod contest. So you have to take that into consideration as well. It's not always just because Sony and Microsoft don't like external scripts. It's also because of the amount of times that Giants would have to patch the console. You can't say yes to one and no to the other without a damn good reason. So by having a blanket no policy and then a yes in exceptional circumstances like winning the mod contest, you can control that. And you can limit how many times the game has to be patched. It would be nice though if we could get all of them submitted and all of them tested and approved at one time for, say, GPS and Courseplay and Follow Me, for example, and then have a single patch that allows all three of those to work. But it's it's only in extreme circumstances that they've done it. Obviously, there were Seasons, which we just talked about, and the only other time they did that was when they released their For Real mods in 17, the Ground Response, the Tire Dirt and the Crop Destruction. They had to patch the base game to allow those mods to work. because again, they fundamentally changed the code of the base game. City Skylines is a game that supports mods on Xbox to a point, but until recently, Microsoft have kind of done what have only allowed curated mods, in the same way that they only allow curated mods on Farming Sim, so mods that are sort of the responsibility of the publishers of Giants. You know, it was the same for Paradox. They could put some mods on Xbox, but they had to be curated. They are now allowing external sources, or they have agreed to allow external sources for mods for City Skylines going forward. I don't know when that's going to come into effect, and I don't know the full ramifications of that, but it is something that, you know, is a relaxing of those kind of stringent, strict rules that they had. And it may possibly, depending on how that works, it may possibly trickle through to Sony at some point in the future, if enough people, you know, say that they want this. Who knows? And if it happens for City Skylines on PS4, then maybe in the future it could happen for Farm Sim as well. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that situation and see exactly what happens. And not having an Xbox, I can't really keep an eye on that very closely. I can only kind of relay little bits of information that I find out here and find out there. You know, it's not something I can report on a regular basis because I don't have an Xbox, so I don't have that experience. Speaking of games with mods, yes, Skyrim was another game, as well as Fallout 4, that allowed mods. There aren't that many at the moment on console, but there are a few out there. Right, we're coming in a bit fast. Let's see if we can avoid just the train cutting out on us like last time. As we roll into Huddersfield. We're slightly behind schedule, but not by too much. In fact, looks like we're going to roll in pretty much bang on time. Speed just gradually bleeding away, which is helpful because of the uphill gradients. Now we need to slow right down, and very quickly. These brakes, they take a little while to kick in. They're not as responsive as I'm used to. There we go, we actually made it to the platform. This is about where we stalled last time. Engine still works, look. So we haven't broken it this time. We are still running, which is good. That's how it should be. Let's come to a slow, gradual stop. Oh, that was close. 4 yards away from going through a red signal. Let's get this brakes back onto initial. Ready for the pull away. Let's get those doors locked. That was a quick turnaround, wasn't it? And off we go. So 16 miles to Stalybridge. That's quite a long run. We've got 23 minutes to do 16 miles. As long as the speeds are okay, we shouldn't have any issues with that. Have I seen the video that 98% of the button functions on the Logitech side panel work on PS4? Yes, I saw the original video put out by Wills himself back in December, I think it was. I've been well aware of it being able to work for quite some time. It's just, you know, I don't have the money to buy a panel. I mean, they're 120, 130 quid, and you know, that's just way too much. I'm on benefits. I'm not in work. I have health issues. I can't work, so I don't just have money to just drop on an expensive piece of hardware like that. Rest assured, if I'd had the money, I would have had a side panel months ago. I would have bought one around January. We need to get the speed up a bit more, don't we? We've got another tunnel to go through. A 1% uphill gradient as well. Let's just go full throttle. So we've got a 65 mile an hour zone, and we'll be doing less than that by the time we get up to that kind of speed. So we'll be able to go straight up to 65. Hi Ziga, welcome to the chat. Dan says you hit a tree in train sim in response to cows saying that he drove into a tree while watching the stream. That would be something. That would be a hell of an achievement. Elmar says totally wants to get a steering wheel with the side panel and all goodbye outside world. Well, I've got a wheel and I've got a kind of a nice sort of chair to sit in to play with the wheel, but unfortunately, because you have to I'd like to be able to sort of do this while I'm driving, you know, on Farming Sim. I like to be able to pan my camera around, and you can't do that on the wheel. There's no function built into the wheel to do that. Now the wheel that is supplied as part of the Cytec pack has two joypads, two DualShocks, two analog sticks. There we go. That's the right term. Two analog sticks built onto the wheel so that you can move and look around while holding the wheel. We don't have that functionality on other wheels, or at least not on my G29 anyway. So you can't really drive and look around at the same time, which makes it frustrating. So it makes it an unsatisfying experience using the wheel without that ability. Now, obviously, with the side panel, you can pan around using the joystick on the panel. So you can look around while you're driving your cab, but you know, 130 quid for that ability is a lot of money. It really is. Yeah, Cat there has just said exactly the same thing. DualShock is the best option at the moment. It's had wheels and pedals without the side panel, and it was unplayable as you have to constantly use the DualShock as well. It's unfortunate, but it is, you know, just the way it is. You know, without that ability to pan your camera around while you're using the wheel, it just slows everything down to an absolute crawl. I would love to use the wheel to play Farming Sim, but it's not working. It's not worth it. It's too much hassle without that ability to be able to look around and pan the camera as you need to, depending on what you're doing and what you're using. anyone who's thinking of rushing out and buying a side panel as well, I would like to just throw out, play devil's advocate for a second and just say that Giants have no intention of supporting that device for FS19. Who knows, maybe with FS21, maybe, but for FS19, they didn't expect it to work. They had no idea that it worked. They have no intention of supporting that device, and it's entirely possible that it might not work with a future patch. You never know. I don't think Giants will deliberately change the code to stop it from working. It'd be real dicks if they did that. But there was a problem with the camera panning 4 months ago, where the camera would slightly pan down and to the right, and that's only just recently kind of fixed with the more recent patch. Who's to say that the next patch that problem comes back and makes the panel unusable just because the camera's constantly panning away from you? So you err on the side of caution if you are thinking of running out and suddenly buying a panel just because it now works properly, because it might not do in a couple of months' time when the next DLC comes out. You never know with these things, and Giants won't care about making sure that whatever they've done to inadvertently get it working perfectly, they won't look to deliberately preserve that, because they have no intention of supporting that piece of equipment on consoles. So whatever has happened to make it suddenly work perfectly, completely by chance, and it's every possibility that that could possibly go away in the future. It's just something to be wary of. If you're in a position like me where money is extremely tight, don't rush out and then necessarily buy it for just for that, because there's every chance it might stop working, or might stop working as well going forward with the next update. I really hope that's not the case, but you just never know what's going to happen. And as I say, Giants never intended to support that. They didn't even realise that it worked, and they certainly won't be looking to make sure that it works with the next patch. They'll be making sure the game works, and the panel, if it works or not, is of secondary concern to them. Ease the throttle down. Got a 55 zone coming up, so we need to bleed off 3 miles an hour. Now the gradient will take care of that for us, so we don't have to mess around with the brakes. Now we just need to get the throttle balanced to the point where it'll hold the speed. Hoping this will be enough. Not quite, let's push it up to 30. Still bleeding speed, so let's push the throttle up to 40. Scott says, I hope Bus Sim comes with a wheel and pedals and side panel. No side panel. It will work with wheels though. They did some test footage at, it wasn't Gamescom, was it? No, it was a PlayStation Underground thing. They did a PlayStation Underground where they ran about 20 minutes of footage a few months back. I posted it on my Facebook page, but it's probably buried. You'd have to go back a couple of months to find it now. But they were using a PS4 Pro, and they were using a wheel and pedals, I believe, on that. And they did talk about wheel compatibility. They didn't say what wheels would be compatible, but they did say that they were working on wheel compatibility. Multiple wheels, so I would imagine the big ones, the G29 and the Thrustmaster wheels will probably be coded. Beyond that, I honestly couldn't say whether they'll be supported or not. Speed can go back up. Cow says, that brings up a question for me. Does the PS unit have a separate graphics card in it, or is it built in? I have absolutely no idea on the the inner component. It's going to have some kind of graphics card built into its motherboard. How powerful that graphics card is, I don't know. I don't know what that would compare to. There are going to be tech specialist channels out there that would be able to give you an answer to that. I can't, Scott says, guess you'll need to have a control then as well to use buttons for the doors and lights. No, I don't think so. Not for bus sim. Everything that you can do apart from the analog sticks, in terms of your panning the camera, you can do on a G29 wheel and a Thrustmaster wheel. I think, I'm not so sure about Thrustmaster, but with a G29, all the face buttons, so L1, L2, R2, R1, L3, R3. The touchpad button, or touchpad button, sorry, the symbol buttons, and I think the D-pad, they're all built into the wheel. They're all built into the face of the wheel, so every control that you can do with the joypad in terms of button combinations like pressing L1 and square, you can do on a wheel. It might be a little bit difficult if you're in first person to do certain functions, so like this, I mean, you can pan around and you can activate certain controls like this. So if I wanted to, for example, do the horn, then I can highlight the horn and I can do it like that. But there's a shortcut, so I can just press L3 and I can get the horn. There are shortcuts built into games for controls like that, and I imagine it will be the same with bus sim. That certain controls will be shortcutted in the same way that farming sim is shortcutted with certain controls. You have your help window which tells you how to operate certain tasks. Sometimes you just need to press X to connect something. Sometimes you need to press L1 and X to do something. There are different shortcuts, and as long as it's a button combination, you can do those on a G29 just as easily as you can, to a degree, on a wheel, as compared to a DualShock. It's the sticks, the analog sticks, being able to do this with the right stick, that you can't do. And that's the frustrating thing, because the right stick is what controls your movement in terms of your direction to look around in, and without that becomes a problem for first person interaction in video games. Will the London bus be in bus sim? No. No, these are European buses. Alright, get our speed back up again. Let's see, time-wise, we've got 9 minutes to do 6 miles. So, as long as we don't drop too slow, then we should be good. Just going to push the speed up a little bit and let the gradient take care of the rest. Oh, I love how gorgeous this countryside is. Even in the snow, and it's all just white, it still looks really, really nice. Look at it, it's gorgeous. I can't see, the sun's in my eyes. Cows, that is not Jim bobbing, buying the wrong baler. Jim bobbing is when you bump into something. That's it, period. You can't take every single mistake you make and apply a Jim bob to it. Alright, we've hit 60. Gradient is starting to increase slightly again, back to 0.8% downhill gradient. So now we have to watch out for speed going above 60. So we'll just bleed a little bit of speed off. There we go, we'll take a few miles off. We've got just over 3.5 miles and 6 minutes plus the rest of this minute to get there, so 6.5 minutes. We're on course to arrive on time. Yes, you can change your hard drive on a PS4, and it is incredibly easy to do, just like it was on the PS3. On my base PS4, before I got the Pro, I switched out my hard drive, which was the standard 500GB hard drive, put in a 2TB drive, and then when I bought my PS4 Pro, I got an accompanying external drive, which is a 2TB drive. So the PS4 Pro has a 1TB drive, and all my video files and everything for the channel is saved on that while I'm processing and recording and all that stuff. And all my games are mounted on my external drive. And the good thing is as well, because they're mounted on my external drive, if something happens to my Pro and I have to go back to the original PS4, all those get my external drive, so I can just plug that in and they will instantly become available to me. Well, maybe after a couple of minutes, but I certainly won't have to download all of them again. They'll be there on the hard drive. Well, we've got a 45 going through. Very nice. Another short little tunnel. Now we're 2 miles away and 4 minutes away, 4 and a bit minutes. Although we have got a 15 zone coming up in 1.8, well, that's right before the station, like 1.8 miles. So we know we're going to have to go onto a very slow approach when we actually reach it. So it looks as though we're going to be pretty much 60 miles an hour all the way through to that point. What would I do if one day I hear someone hit an item and then say they've Jim bobbed it? What you mean in real life? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd probably ask them where they heard that. Do I know British farming videos by Flank and Ollie's Farm? I've heard and seen. I've heard of Ollie's Farm and seen, I think, 1 or 2 of his videos in the past. I haven't heard of Flank. I might have to have a look at that later. Bus sim isn't going to be left-hand drive. It's set in Europe, so bus sim is right-hand drive. Ooh. Just seeing how close we are to that 15 zone. We are coming way too fast. Slow down, slow down. Ease those brakes off now. There we go. So this is Stadybridge. We are well ahead of schedule. Partly aided by the fact that we came in way too fast, but managed to slow down quickly enough. But by the time we get parked up, I think, yeah, we're going to be about a minute early. That's fine. It's not too bad. We've got one person waiting for the train. Just one... Oh, no, a second person. Maybe there's a third person down the line somewhere. It's the same person. The Matrix is glitched. Look for a black cat crossing the tracks. See if it happens twice in a row. Then we know that the Matrix is glitched. Maybe that's what happened to our train the first time. I blame Agent Smith for destroying the train and stopping the train from running. Oops. Sit down. Very empty platform. Someone's getting off. They've had enough. They don't want to ride on the train no more. I can understand that. Look how quickly this thing's turning around as well. In terms of how quickly it loads and unloads passengers. That's insanely fast. So used to that taking an eternity to happen. DQ says Neo Bob. Maybe. Okay, let's get those doors locked. We're about ready to pull off. There we go. Gradually get some speed up. One of the things I'd love to see is that sudden plume of smoke out the engine when you have a sudden burst of acceleration with the throttle. See if we can get keyed up for the next one. Actually might be our thumbnail, I think, for tonight's run session. Oops. I'm stuck in the ground. There we go. That's better. Trying to pull the camera out enough to get a thumbnail that I can crop. Bushes are too close to the side of the line. Come on, come on. Get out of the way, bushes. That would have been a great shot going over the bridge. Let's try that. Right. We can get a nice little boost of speed. There's that boost of smoke coming out of the engine. I love to see that. Whenever you hit the throttle, you get that sudden surge of smoke coming out the back of the engine. That's so cool. It's a silly little thing, but I love to see that. Let's get these brakes sorted, make sure that they're off. They are. Drop down so we don't get decapitated by the bridge. Throttles at full, we are off and running. Let's give it some beans. DQ says, how about Bahrain? What a great race. Felt bad for Leclerc. He's going to win loads going forward. He's still way in the early parts of his career, but it's got to be a concern for Vettel. I don't like to just dump all over Formula One drivers because they have bad results, but some drivers you do think they don't deserve to be there. And I'm looking at Lance Stroll in that respect. I don't think he has enough talent, enough natural talent to be there. I think he's only in Formula One because his dad's a billionaire. That's the only reason he's there. His dad bought him a drive at Williams and then bought him a team at Racing Point. So it's the only reason that Lance Stroll is in the team, because guaranteed if you take Lance out of the equation, completely out of the equation, and you look at just running a team, there is no way you can say that Lance Stroll is a faster driver than Esteban Ocon. I can understand maybe moving Ocon on or Perez on if you've had issues with the two drivers and their own personal history against each other, because those two have not got on at all in the last couple of years. But as a talented driver, you take a straight side-by-side comparison between Ocon and Stroll. Ocon wins every time. Every time. So if Lance Stroll was not part of the equation and his father Lawrence had just bought Racing Point and his son wasn't even in the sport, Ocon's seat would have been safe. The only reason Ocon got booted out was because Danny Warburton's bought his son a team. So there are some drivers you look at and you say they don't deserve their spot because they're just not talented enough, and they're keeping out better drivers simply because they're bringing money. And it's been that way to a degree for quite a long time, but never to this extent with Lance. That is just blatant nepotism to the point it's you couldn't get less obvious. No, you couldn't get more obvious at all. It's just it smacks you in the face, and I feel really bad for Ocon, but he'll be back at some point in the future. And there are other drivers who have achieved a lot but maybe don't aren't necessarily worthy of some of the plaudits that are thrown at them, and there are other drivers who haven't achieved what they could have achieved because they just never got the right car or were just unlucky. I've never rated Vettel as a true great. Never have. He was at a point where he was in a team with Mark Webber, who was a good driver, a fast driver, but not a world champion in terms of, he was not a great, one of those true great drivers. He was a fast driver and he was a good driver, but he wasn't a true great. Vettel was just faster than him, which is why Vettel won, and the team also heavily favoured Vettel over Webber, which is why Vettel won 4 world championships in a row with a car that dominated the field. And even on those in those 4 years, Alonso, who was a true world champion, a true great, true monstrously amazing driver, he took a Ferrari that had no business being at the front, and came on 2 separate years, 2 separate occasions, came within of being world champion himself. So you can imagine what he would have done in a Red Bull. Vettel would have been absolutely destroyed if those two had been teammates. Then you put Ricciardo in a seat to replace Webber. Vettel gets slapped in the face repeatedly and completely outshone by Webber, and then Vettel goes off the Ferrari. And now Leclerc is coming in and he's doing what Daniel Ricciardo did at Red Bull. He is showing up his teammate, who was a fast driver but is not a great driver. And Leclerc is really, I'm looking forward to him embarrassing Vettel on a regular basis this season. I think it would be great for the sport to have superstar out there as well. A lot's been made of Max Verstappen's going to be the next sort of up and comer as a world champion. I think Leclerc's got every possible every possibility, if he can keep the form he's in at the moment going. There's no reason why he couldn't be in that picture in the future as well, maybe even this year, who knows. So yeah, it's gutted for him that he didn't win, because he deserved it, but he'll have plenty of opportunities this year. If the Ferrari is as strong as it's looking, yeah, he's going to win at least one race this year. I'm almost certain of that, unless Vettel does something to put the kibosh on it and stop him from achieving that with team orders. DQ says, it was a crazy solo spin by Vettel, very unlike him to screw up like that. Did you not watch last season? Vettel screwed up like that 4 or 5 times. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a quarter of the races of the season. He screwed up on 25% of the races like that with silly little mistakes, and he threw himself off the track for no real reason at Germany. He spun on 3 occasions, I think, and there was something else he did as well. He made 4 or 5 big mistakes that he didn't need to make, and then of course the team made some mistakes as well. But yeah, Vettel just he buckles under the pressure. Do you remember 2011 Canada? Vettel has the lead. Button has come from the back of the field with like 20 laps to go and puts him under pressure, and Vettel spins out or loses control and runs very wide halfway round the final lap of the race. He's not a driver who can handle the pressure. He's shown and demonstrated that time and time and time again. He cannot take an average car and make it into and outdrive it. He just cannot do that. He can drive a good car very well, but he can't drive a bad car very well. And you look at the people around him, his contemporaries, and they can. At least some of them can. And they're the ones that are the true greats. Drivers like Hamilton, drivers like Alonso, they are, the true greats of the current kind of era. And Vettel is just a driver who's very good in a very good car, and not so good in a not so good car. Cat Noir says, just been watching the F1 documentary on Netflix, amazing series. Yes, it was a very good series, but I have one major problem with it, and it's that the biggest story of last year was the rivalry between Hamilton and Vettel, and neither Ferrari nor Mercedes agreed to take part in the documentary. They both stated that it would be too distracting. So that's 2 teams out of the of the documentary, and the major teams as well. The 2 biggest teams, neither one wanted to take part in the documentary, which is a real shame. And I think that it could have been so much more had they been part of it. Mr. Brereton has popped in the chat. How are you doing? Good to see you. Nicole asks, will I be doing Days Gone? Well, I will certainly be getting a copy, and I will probably be putting it on the channel. Not 100% certain yet, but probably. I might not play it all the way through on the channel. It depends how many people watch it, because it's one of those games that I want to sit and I want to play, and when it's a game like that I want to play continuously, and when I do a game like that on the channel, I don't play it separately on a side profile, so that I can experience everything first time on the channel. But if nobody's watching, or only a few people are watching, then I will probably take it off the channel and just sit and play it, in long sessions on my own, so that I can experience the game, in those long periods. So yeah, it'll probably pop up on the channel, soon after release. but how long it stays on the channel depends on how many people are watching. Let's go back in cab. For our approach here, this is Manchester Victoria. This is our stop. This is our terminus. Scott says House Flipper is coming to PS4. I'd be interesting to see how that works on PS4. I think it'll be a game that'll be fun for a bit, but long term, I don't know how well that'll fare. Need to get hands on with that, really. Oh, just got a little notification saying chat has been disconnected. Not quite sure what's gone on there. Oh, I know what it is. Someone's microwaving downstairs, and whenever they do that, it throws out the Wi-Fi in the house. My laptop's still running on the house Wi-Fi. Oops. Stop! Nah, hit the throttle, not the brakes. Ah. Oh. God damn it. Alright, so we failed the scenario, or the service, again. I say again, yeah, we didn't fail it last time. We deliberately stopped because the train broke and wouldn't restart. But I think, because we've been running for nearly 2 hours, that's probably it's probably a good time for us to call it a day. So a little disappointed that we never actually completed a service tonight, but we got some good running in, at the very least. We got to see this Trans-Pennine pack in the snow, and oh god, it looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Might have to run the snow on this pack a bit more often. We will have another attempt at running this pack next week, assuming that I'm not in a position to actually get my my 166 trophy next week. We'll see. Depends how much time I get to play on this during the week. But until then, thanks all for watching tonight, and for popping in and spending some time in the chat. Always love to hear from you guys, as you know, and answer your questions and just chat about stuff. You know, it's always a pleasure to do that. We've got more videos coming out throughout the week, as always, for Farm Sim, for Railway Empire, for City Skylines, Green Cities, and Genesis Alpha 1. And then, of course, we'll be back with our City Skylines live stream on Sundays, City Sundays, at 6 PM UK time. So I will see you live in a few days' time, and there'll be some more content on the channel for you tomorrow afternoon. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and I'll see you all again very soon.